opening themselves up to challenge, like going into a debate where you end up wearing a plastic crown for the rest of the day, by coming to places like Money 2020 and by opening themselves up to the possibility of not knowing everything, which sounds so obvious, but actually for a very long time banks built themselves up as specialists, and the last 10 years have been an incredible challenge, not to the balance sheet as much as to our knowledge, to our comfort in our knowledge. So how do we innovate? We innovate by opening ourselves up to learning, which is a painful experience, a vulnerable experience, a stabilizing experience, but an extremely rewarding one. So in that learning, we question what we used to do, we learn how to do new things, we find new partners and explore new value. But anyone who tells you that it's painless is lying to you. I think it's very easy. Watching the debate, you could see the people who come from a retail banking background and the people who don't. There are a lot of retail bankers out there, challengers and none, who almost totally forget what happens after the current account. And it's great to be knowledgeable about what happens on the glass when you're designing a digital experience, but actually if you don't understand the full banking ecosystem of how everything connects up to everything else, how the money moves around the world, clearance and settlement, and how products plug in and the interdependencies, then you don't actually fully understand A, what infrastructure you're built on, and B, how something happening downstream to your business could actually have a massive impact on you. An outage in a system that feels irrelevant to a challenger banker could actually have a ripple effect because their custodian is affected or some of their partners are affected. So understanding the infrastructure is super important. And as I was arguing in the debate we just had, we shouldn't dismiss the infrastructure as insignificant. It is where most of the investment needs to go, and it is most of where the action happens. We like seamless banking. Well, seamless banking only happens if we have really robust infrastructure underneath where the money is matched and settled quickly and without errors. That's increasingly happening because a lot of money is pouring into it. But if you start moving into lending, into investment products, then quite a lot of that is still specialist and it's still subject matter expert driven. And that is a fancy word for saying we have very smart people who do stuff on spreadsheets. It's not automated because people have expertise and they value that expertise. But the flip side of that is it's not automated. It's not a simple API that can be exposed and off you go. Now, there can be a conversation about whether that is actually better for the customer to have that human touch or not. But to say that we are ready to automate everything is just not true. The question of whether it would be best for the customer is still open, and I'm myself on the fence on that. But also, if you look beyond the current account to the deep infrastructure components, fund accounting and allocation and trade finance and all of those pieces that move the engine of the economy way before you get to the current account, it's nowhere near ready to be automated. The pipes that run that are most definitely not smart. So if we want to jazz everything up, a lot of money, time, and thought has to go into that. I would say no infrastructure is easy to reinvent because you have things running through and you're currently making money. And it is extremely difficult to turn off the faucet when you're making money. And when you have responsibilities to your grandmother's pension and people's salaries and the mortgages you're underwriting, there is a massive socio-moral responsibility associated with banks that we very, very rarely think about. You can't turn that off to build something from scratch. So you need to either find the money to build two parallel infrastructures, and one is ready and tested and scaled, turn the other one off. Even the most mature banks don't have that kind of disposable income. Or you need to start making tweaks and changes as you go along, which means you will always compromise both how fast you can go and how truly digital you can become. It's interesting to look at the ecosystem. Some people do one, others do the other. I think it has more to do with the mentality of their leadership and their disposable income to dedicate to that rather than the nature of the market.